Because one of our states, Queensland, started this in around 2004, 2005, by the time the industry wanted to move into the other states like New South Wales and into our own area, was sort of 2008. So we've had a few years of actually seeing what had happened in Queensland. And so instead of getting into a debate about, whether we'll have this or whether we'll stop them that way, it was a decision to do nothing. We will not have them, not drilled, no, not one well. And it started up with a group called Lock the Gate, which are now the largest social movement, and it's fast growing in Australia. There are thousands of people who are members of Lock the Gate across Australia. And of course there's the Knitting Nanas and all the others that go with it. And really, the Bentley, some of you may have heard about the Bentley blockade, that was pretty much close to where we live. And when I say to people, that was a blockade where there were thousands of people out there because one exploratory drill was going to happen. It wasn't as if there was a gas field, it was one exploratory drill. But the decision was, if you let one exploratory drill in, you've opened the gate. So we decided we would lock the gate before that one exploratory drill was ever drilled. And the whole concept of lock the gate was came from a guy called Drew Hutton, who, incredible activist and campaigner all his life. And he was born in the area in Queensland where the worst of the damage was. And he started to talk to farmers who, in the early days, had agreed to let the gas companies in because the gas company said, all right, you don't let us in, we'll take you to court and we'll ruin you and you lose your farm, and so what? So a few farmers, quite a few farmers said, yeah, okay, we'll let you in. But as we saw more and more damage, he went out and said to them, well, if you lock your gate, okay, they're going to threaten you to, take you to court. But if your neighbour locks his gate, and then his neighbour locks his gate, what are they going to do? Take 1,000 farmers to court? And so now, if you drive through Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, I would say on 80% of farm gates, there's a little triangle. Lock the gate. No way. There was a precedent set many years ago about, okay, you have the right to go on a property for certain things like mining, but you don't have the right to go through a locked gate. So there was a hint of a legal precedent, and I've got to say it wasn't terribly strong, but it was enough to give people strength. So that sort of started, so the lock the gate just went on. When the Bentley happened, there was the core of people who went out. The farmer whose land was going to be adjacent to, he said, yeah, sure, set up your blockade on my land. It was a beautifully organised blockade, the proper portaloos came in, there were marshals, there were the Knitting Nanas making sure everyone had sun cream and water and, all of those things. There was Reverend Nightingale there comforting, and it was a family affair. And so people like the teachers that live opposite us, they organised for someone to babysit their children so they could go out. And it was that incredible sort of family warmth feeling, we can do this together. And so when the police announced, when the minister announced that he was going to bring in 1,000 riot squad with the horses to break this blockade, to get that one drill rig in, the word went out. And the word went out to about 20,000 people. So the next day, they were going to have a city out there, and that city was going to have doctors, nurses, religious people, teachers, children, grandma. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, the minister went, this isn't going to be a good look. Someone is going to get hurt. And so he basically called it off, repealed that particular PEL, that exploration licence, and all of a sudden you could just feel the wind in the air. We've done it. We've blocked that one, and off it's gone. And it has spread across the country like wildfire. And in my seat where we live, it used to be a really National Party seat, Conservative. Never had another type of member in. We got a Greens per person this time because everyone opposed the unconventional gas. So it's been very, very powerful, but the thing that has made it powerful is that sense of a community together, a community supporting each other. And what's also been wonderful is the farmer who would have never spoken to the campaigner, the mother who may have never spoken to an Indigenous person. All of a sudden, the glue that started to hold the community together got really strong. And it's a great model. And I'll just say one more thing, that the gas field free one, that was the other process. A friend of ours, Annie Kia, designed a process where communities could come together, and it could either be a village, a street or a suburb, and you held a public meeting, and then you got people to volunteer, and every door, so it had to either be an area that you could manage, you knocked on every door, you provided them with information, you asked them whether they wanted conventional gas in person, nothing through a letterbox, and you came back, you tallied it up, and if you had more than 95% of your street, suburb or little village, you could then declare it gas field free. You then had a declaration statement, you then took it to the local council, we had a ceremony, which was the photo I think I showed you up there, where things went in. No legal, thing, and it doesn't mean anything legally, but morally, can you imagine a politician looking at that and going, my God, 95% of all of these villages are saying gas field free. Am I going to support the company that's going to try to break that? It was a very, very powerful, very powerful.